So I am still doing the recap of The Handmaid's Tale. Yes, I do know I'm several years behind, but we have a new season that's coming in 2024. And in light of current politics, where we're still debating women's reproductive rights, I feel it's appropriate to go back a few years when this was fresh because not everybody has watched the series. So now today I am in episode 2 in season 1. And what we see here, I completely understand why after this episode, some women might have checked out because this episode was brutal. Understanding that this is the ceremony. What we see right here is June zoning out. She's looking up at the ceiling while the hands that you see right now are the wife's hands, and she is holding her arms while the commander Fred um, goes in and out of her, performing the ceremony and putting his baby batter in her. And she's just zoning out, and everybody is just kind of doing what they have to do as far as this ceremony goes. At this particular point, it's just showing this episode shows how dehumanized these women were, and actually how dehumanized most of these people are in many of these scenes. So the ceremony is based on this Bible verse in Genesis chapter 30, verse 4. So Rachel gave Jacob her servant Bilhah as a wife, and he slept with her. That is what it's based on. And from that, which the ruling class, the ruling class of men created this ceremony where they get to do with these women's bodies what they want, and they just couch it in the Bible. And that is the reason why I am doing this, because that is precisely what these current Christo-fascist, conservative Christians, and Republicans are doing right now. They are attempting to create a world, our country, based on these man-made religions, and just make everybody go along with it. And that's the reason why I'm doing it. So after the commander is done, has done his duty, put his baby batter in her, Alfred, or June right here, is just supposed to sit there and just wait until the baby batter just can, have the opportunity to connect to her egg. She's there. But the wife gets so angry. She's just like, get out. So in honesty, the wives are not really that happy with this setup. They see their husband doing this, but they take it out on the handmaids as if the handmaids have any choices. But this is the reason why so many people, and I do understand, go back to this has happened before. We know that this has happened before. We've seen it with the slaveholders here in America, where the wives of the slaveholders get so mad at the enslaved women who have been forced to do things like this, because we had no opportunity to control our own bodies. We had no autonomy, and we were ungrateful because we were basically chattel. We're basically here for these people to, be productive in the lands, be productive with our bodies to create more chattel. And so then the slaveholders, the slaveholders' wives, just like the wives of the commanders, get mad at the chattel, not the husbands, not the people who had created this system, which we will find out that this particular wife had a hand in creating. Also in this episode, we see more of how people in this world were just completely desensitized and dehumanized. So in this episode, we see the wall, but we see the handmaids just casually walking by these dead bodies as if this is normal. This is normalized in this world, and there's no really protesting about it. And you see a lot in life. Like if you complain, if you are not just getting into your role, this is what happens. Like these people that are up on the wall. Men didn't have it that much better than the women outside of the commanders. The other men still were subjected to these harsh roles. And if they stepped outside of their roles, this is what could happen. getting put up on the wall. This connects to right now in how desensitized we are with all of these mass shootings and how they have become normal, how we see these things daily and people can walk by, how it's all on the news, looping hour after hour, getting embedded into our psyche. And it's just as normal as these women sitting up here having a conversation after grocery shopping. In this episode, something else that we saw was two men jump out of a van and swoop this guy up and throw him into the van. And we saw that as the handmaids were just walking by. And the handmaids just had to stand there and act as if this was normal. Now, in Gilead, they say under his eye. Everybody is watching. Anybody can be an eye. Everybody is like, they can snitch or they should snitch, because if it is found out that some person has some information and didn't let anyone know, then they can get snitched on as well. So it's under this constant surveillance that these people are living under. And that reminds me of the Texas law where people get to snitch on women if they've had a abortion somewhere, or even some of these other states that are imposing or trying to pass laws where if you take someone to have a slow abortion in another state, there could be laws and repercussions. That's another reason why this has to be considered, because this is precisely what Christo-fascists, conservatives, and Republicans are trying to bring us to. And we're pretty much living it right now, because this is what they're taking their playbook straight out of this series. This episode is very important. This episode lays the foundation of what it means to be in Gilead. So in this episode also, we see what happens during the birth of a baby. So the handmaid is getting ready to deliver, getting ready to give birth to a baby. So all of the handmaids had to go to this house, but all of the wives go to the house as well. And so the handmaids are supporting the pregnant handmaiden that's about to give birth. And she is the only one that's literally giving birth. However, the wives are circled around the wife that will have this baby. And they are like, they're breathing and they're chanting as if this woman who's not pregnant is about to give birth. So they have literally created a whole ceremony, despite the fact that only the handmaid is giving birth. So this woman is giving birth. But once the handmaid is really about to give birth, then the wife that you see in the middle wearing white, surrounded by these wives in their green outfits, she comes in and she sits with the pregnant handmaid, and they all start pushing and panting and making all the sounds like they're about to all give birth. It's super, super duper creepy. They're breathing, they're like, push, breathe. It's super duper weird. In this episode, we also have June, the main character, who's called Offred right now. We see her flashing back to her previous life when she had her own child and what life was like before it turned to Gilead. How protesters were out like, have the babies, no abort, all that. You see also during this time what the world was like, and how there's like no babies in the maternity ward. It's like empty. And this is important because we can see where the birth rate is declining right now. And I can see how it's going to continue to decline, considering the economy, the political dysfunction right now with these Christo-fascist, conservative Christians, and Republicans attempting to snatch away women's rights. I can see women clamping down on their wombs even more. But these women had a life, so they still have the memory of being free. So that indoctrination to break them down to this point was a real education in breaking them down. So that is season 1, episode 2. And I will be back soon with episode 3. Jump in the comments and let me know what you think about this one. Like, comment, share.